Hello and welcome to Hughes of the World, episode 12, The Bahamas. So sorry for the cock up there. I actually started streaming and then I realised that I hadn't updated the title of the stream. So it was going out still as the earlier title of today's show, which was Brexit Reality. This is not Brexit Reality. This has nothing to do with Brexit. This is Hughes of the World. So thank you very much. Second attempt there from Ben Lasseler. Cash Dummy says first, but wasn't. Sorry, Cash. And thank you for being one of my new patrons. Thank you. Alex Morgan, stream issues today. Looking forward to the Bahamas. No, that was my fault. That was just like totally my fault. I was just about to go live and then I realized, well, I'd already started streaming. And then I realized I cocked up. So here I am. It's all good. I'm here in Nassau, obviously, in the Bahamas. It's getting dark. Actually, it's not. It shouldn't be getting dark there at the moment. It's still like, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But yes, evening all, says Graham Haller. Hello again. Graham and Hughes of the World. Looks like the video has correct tagging this time. Yes, Adrian, thank you. The Bahamas, beautiful but former Dutch colony, plus some tax avoidance and a terrible storm recently. Yeah, they've had some really, really bad weather, which has been getting worse in recent years. Tonight's topic is Bahamas, says NMTB 1972. Sid Meier's Pirates come to mind, says Cash Dummy in response to Alex Morgan. Yes, we're going to be talking about piracy a lot this evening. I fear, because basically the Bahamas, it's like the pirate capital of the world, man. This place, when it comes to piracy, it's got a great story. So let's jump in there with the quick sort of facts about the Bahamas. And it is the Bahamas, by the way, capital T, the Bahamas. I know technically speaking, maybe it should be under the T list of countries, like the Gambia, which I think has dropped the, and the Ukraine, which has also dropped the, and the Congo, which also dropped the. But the Bahamas has not dropped the. It is definitely in there and has a capital T. But I'm going in the order of the short name of the country, Bahamas. So, yeah, and a country code, I think, is like BA or something like that. Although that could be Bahrain, that could be Barbados, it could be the no, it could be anything else. Anyway, I'll think of something. Burma, no, that doesn't work. Right, Borneo, no, that's not a country, it's an island. Right, so anyway, Bahamas. So this is the flag of the Bahamas here. This is representing the blue, I think that's the sea, and then the yellow, which is the sand, the land, and then the black triangle is Endeavour, and also the people there are generally Afro-Caribbean people, so or Afro-Bahamian people, I think they're called. The population of the Bahamas is about 390,000. It's not a big country. But it's got loads of frickin' islands, 700 islands and 2,100 keys. That's pretty impressive. The population is mostly made up of freed slaves and, well, people who were slaves, our ancestors were slaves and then were freed, which we'll come on to. Famous for, obviously, sailing, partying, scuba diving, surfing, you name it. Beautiful white sand beaches. There's actually a pink beach. There's a pink beach in the Bahamas. There's also there's mangroves. That means there's no-see-ums, which are the little tiny chicha things that bite you at dawn and dusk. Tropical islands. I know about them. As anyone who's been to Ginger Island will tell you, you have the itching hour, as we call it, when you, it's making me itch now just thinking about it. The itching hour, sort of dawn and dusk, where you have to run inside, close all the doors and windows, put the fan on, just melt for an hour before you can go back outside and it's okay. There's also a flamingo island. There's swimming pigs. There's a giant rodent that lives there called the hutia. And and no-see-ums. And pirates. Big thing about pirates over there. The Commonwealth of the Bahamas. That's the official title. 700 islands for now. Ask again in 30 years. Good point from Ben Lasseler. The highest point in the whole of the Bahamas is like, 200 meters? It's like a mountain. It's like a hill. and they call it a mountain. It's like Mount something, but I should have written that down, shouldn't I? Mangroves are terrible. They are great for nature, but awful for us. Mangroves are the best. Why are mangroves awful? I need to know, Cash Dummy. They're fantastic for nature. Why are they bad for us? You need to tell me. Alex Morgan, any relation to Captain Morgan, who was a pirate in the Bahamas and maybe even governor at one time? I don't think Captain Morgan was, but Henry Morgan was definitely around that time. He famously burnt down Panama City, did old Captain Morgan. He went all the way over to Panama City, so it traipsed across the whole isthmus of Panama to Panama City and burnt it down, and then went back again. Alex Morgan says, remember flying from Miami to Nassau on Bahamas Star, but Bahamas Air. Bahamas Star. That's even better. Bahamas Air. And they asked us to move towards the back of the twin prop to keep the plane balanced. I love it when they do things like that. Can you all just go on to the left of the plane, please? The left of the plane, because the engine's not working on that side. But yeah, common name here in Wales, but lovely rum. Yes, Captain Morgan spiced rum. Sorry, but it's really good. It's up there. It's up there with Takamaka rum from the Seychelles. Can't wait till I get to talk about that. Oh, the Seychelles. There you go. There's another country that has a "the" in the name. The Seychelles. And also the Maldives. Ha, thanks for reminding me. Thank you. By the power of rum. But yeah, ask again in 30 years' time, because most of the Bahamas is pretty much at sea level. So any kind of rise in sea level, it's going to go. It's going to disappear. Which will be a hell of a shame. So what I'm going to do now, just because we're talking a little bit about geography, is I'm going to get up my map. Here you go. It's a map of the world. Yay, this is so much fun. I love bringing up maps of the world so we know, what we're dealing with here. And we can zoom in. So just in case you're a bit lost, I hope you're not. But I've got that problem where I can't really turn. I can just sort of zoom in on certain bits. There's Britain though, up here. God damn you, stupid thing. Right, I don't care. Right, there's England, there, United Kingdom, Ireland, United States. And then if I sort of zoom in right down here, where Florida is, turn the map around. I've got to go right down into Florida. What did someone call Florida the other day? They called it something like the vestigial tail of America. This is a good name for it. And then, if I can I zoom into the Bahamas, please? Oh, it's not letting me do this properly. What happens if I do this? Is this going to wreck everything for you? I hope not. I'm sorry if this ruins everything for you. No, I'm on the United States. Okay, good. I can move about now. Right. Let's start this section again. This is planet. It's just basically moved the whole thing into the wrong place. Oh, don't worry. I will fix it. Don't worry. There we go. Beautiful. Thank you for having the patience to put up with my ridiculousness when I'm trying to automate things, trying to produce my own show and do stuff live. Oh, it's a nightmare. Right. Okay. Map of the world. There's the Caribbean. Okay. That is the Caribbean. You'll notice the Caribbean Sea is really quite wonderfully shaped. I mean, look at all these islands. They're all kind of in a line, as I pointed out when we were talking about Antigua a few weeks ago. They're on this line that goes along here and then around here, and then it meets up in Cancun in Mexico, which is really cool. But we have to go up a little bit to the Bahamas. So the Bahamas are technically in the Atlantic Ocean. They're not in the Caribbean as such, as in the Caribbean Ocean, which is this side of Cuba. This is really the Atlantic, but we regard it as the West Indies. We regard it as all part of the Caribbean area. You wouldn't do a book about the Caribbean islands and leave the Bahamas off. So over here, this is Grand Bahama. Over here, this is this is Grand Bahama. Let's have a look. Zoom in. There's Nassau there on New Providence Island, which is just there. And if I move that down, that'd be easier for you to see. There we go. There's old Fort Bay over there. And this is where all the pirates used to hang out, on the island of New Providence. And most of the people live there as well. And then we've got these islands over here. This area here just kind of all descends into briny, sandy territory down here. And if I change the set up here so we can actually look at the terrain, look at the satellite. You'll see this is a bigger island, but not many people live there. It's kind of uninhabited. Whereas if that's Andros Island, but if we go to the smaller New Providence Island here where Nassau is, you see that's very built up. It's like a city on there. Most of the population of the Bahamas live on this little tiny island here. I'll just get out. And Bahamas is either from the Lucayan word, which was Bahama, or it's from the Spanish for Bahamar, or Bahama, which means shallow water or shallow sea. It'll be from either. But there we go. Yep, that's it on the map, so you know where it is. And if I zoom out, you can get a boat, just talk about transport, you can get a boat from Fort Lauderdale around here over to Grand Bahama Island. It should be this one. If it's not this one, I'm going to look like a tit. No, there's Grand Bahama there, and there's Freeport. And you can get a day trip. If you're on a mission to visit every country in the world without flying, it's one of the easiest countries in the whole of the Caribbean to get to, because you can just get there from America on a day trip. Go over, get your passport stamped, go back over. All good. Sorry. Just go over, get your passport stamped here, and then go back. So, and that's basically what I did when I went over there. I spent the day on Grand Bahama Island. It's very nice. I liked it. People were lovely. Food was good. Had a couple of drinks. Happy days. Cash dummy, with the pirate flag. The Bahamas are beautiful. More from the world. That's from Cash Dummy. Yes, the Bahamas are incredible. They are really, really stunning. Wish we'd stop building crap on them. But we keep doing that. We keep doing this on islands. We go, let's develop it. And you're like, no, because people don't travel halfway around the world to go to a freaking multiplex cinema, you tits. Just make it nice. Look at the Maldives. Look at the Maldives. I mean, obviously not the capital of Maldives, Malé, which is just covered in, it's like, it looks like a city literally floating on the sea. It's completely flat. You got the city on the island of Malé, but the outer islands of the Maldives are stunning, and they've been made in kind of like a rustic tiki kind of way, a lot of them. And although it's not particularly great for the environment to do anything on these islands, if you're going to do something, please just leave the concrete where it is. Please just build stuff out of wood. Temporary, nice temporary structures that you can take down after each hurricane. Right. Yeah, thank you, Cash Dummy, for my €5 super chat. Really, really appreciate that. Andy McAvoy says, I nearly died just outside Cartagena on a jet ski. I drove around the corner where I couldn't be seen foolishly, and just under the water was mangrove, and then the engine died. Oh my God. That's pretty bad. Yeah, but still, I got to tell you, Ginger Island is a mangrove island, so I have an affection for mangroves. Also, they lock in. They don't just keep like the sea away and filter the water, which is nice. They also lock in carbon into the ground. They're nice like that. MMTB, on being lost, a trainee was asked if she had visited the US. No, I don't fly that much. A bit later, when she was asked where she was going on holiday this year, her answer was Canada. Well, maybe she had a map like mine where I couldn't actually move it up and down. I could only zoom in and out until I sorted it out. But it's sorted now. It's all good. I hope you all know where the Bahamas is now, and if it ever comes up in a pub quiz, you'll be able to go. That's the Bahamas there, just kind of to the right of Florida, the vestigial tail of America. But Bahamas is its own country in its own right. It's a member of the UN. It's also a member of the British Commonwealth, and the Queen is the head of state over there, if you didn't know that. So the history of the place, the original inhabitants were a tribe of Arawaks who were called the Lucayan people, and they arrived around 900 AD. So before then, we don't know. There might be people there, but they left no evidence. So we think that these Lucayans were the first people there. They were peaceful people. They left behind pottery, boats that they built. They wove cotton into clothing and hammocks, and they traded with their neighbours. And also, a lot of the words that we associate with sort of the Caribbean came from their language. We have the word canoe, cannibal, hammock, hurricane, tobacco, and key, which is written C-A-Y, like K, but it's pronounced key. That'll comes from the Lucayan language. And about the time that Christopher Columbus turned up in the Bahamas, and the Bahamas was the first place that Christopher Columbus actually sailed to after 33 days at sea, 300 miles, on the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina ships. He planted the gold on He planted his flag on an island he called San Salvador, and there is a San Salvador today. But a Nat Geo study from the mid-90s think that it might have been a different place that he first made landfall, a place called Samana Key. But who knows? But when he arrived, the population of the peaceful Lucayans was around 50,000 people. We think it's about 50,000 people when he arrived in 1492. Within 25 years, all gone. Completely. Eradicated. Wiped off the face of the earth. An entire race of people, an entire group of people. I often mention the fact that you never meet any Caribs when in the Caribbean. Yeah. You don't meet any Lucayans either. They were wiped out. Absolutely, positively, 100% wiped out. Maybe some survived and assimilated with other people. But what the Spanish did was they enslaved them and moved a lot of them off the islands because they were looking for gold. And these islands were beautiful, but the Spaniards weren't particularly interested in beautiful islands because the idea of going on holiday somewhere really didn't exist for another few hundred years. And they just wanted gold. And well, I don't know what to say about this, but it's pretty bad. So they shipped a lot of the people out. The native people of the Bahamas were shipped out to what's now Dominican Republic, Haiti, Hispaniola Island, and Cuba. And no more people. And in fact, all of the Bahamas was pretty much uninhabited, apart from some pirates who came and went. Some mariners who maybe, sailed to a sandbar, had a party, got back on the boat. It was pretty much abandoned for, 150 years, maybe longer. I mean, it was a long time. There was just no one really living there. And then Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh came along. Now, Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh were both pirates. I mean, privateers, not pirates. Privateers. Anyway, they came to the Bahamas, and soon afterwards, Charlestown was founded in 1666 after King Charles, who subsequently had his head chopped off. No, he had his head chopped off a couple of years ago. It must have been Charles II, I guess. Charlestown after Charles II. And then I think they got rid of Charles II, didn't they? Because they had the Glorious Revolution and invited William III of Orange, Nassau, to become the King of Britain, King of England and Scotland. And so they renamed the capital from Charlestown, because obviously that had bad Catholic connotations, and changed it to Nassau, which is what it's called today. It's still called Nassau. Peter said they will disappear this century. The country will be underwater. Yeah, I think so. Bahamas, yes, it's where Jack Sparrow consumed his rum. It was the pirate central. It really was. He didn't consume it. Miss Elizabeth burnt it, says Ben. Big fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Vincent Prail says, while you were there, did you see whether it was easy to get to Cuba via boat due to the proximity to the USA, or was that not really done? No, Vincent, it wasn't, because most of the people who own boats in that area are Americans, and they wouldn't go to Cuba at the time, which was 2009. I know things have thawed a little bit, but at the time, if you were before 9/11, if you were Cuban, if you were American, if you were a Floridian, and you had a boat in Key West or one of the Keys or even Miami, you could trundle down to Havana and spend the weekend there and then come back, and the authorities pretty much turned a blind eye. And then after 9/11, they got really, really strict, because a lot of the responsibilities of that used to be the Coast Guard became under the auspices of Homeland Security, who have a lot less of a sense of humor about stuff, and they don't like people having fun. So when I went in 2009 to Florida, I found it very, very hard to get to Cuba. And some people suggested going to the Bahamas to find a boat from there, but I might have run into the same problem because it was the same problem that I ran into when I was in the Dominican Republic trying to get over to Cuba. Americans just didn't want to go over there because if they get caught, they can lose their boat. They could have a big fine. They could even end up in jail. I wouldn't because I haven't done anything wrong. My country doesn't have a Trading with the Enemy Act from the First World War that's still in place today, like what America has. I love this. America, land of the free. And it's like, but not free to go to Cuba, not free to go to Mauritania, not free to go to Libya. There's a bunch of places you can't go to if you're American, but land of the free. But there you go. I think Americans can go to North Korea after that idiot Trump went over there. Well, he stepped across the border, didn't he? I went to Havana via Nassau for a day trip, said Richard Fossett. Fantastic. Did you fly? I'm guessing you flew if it was a day trip. It's a bit of a way on the boat. A pattern repeated through our history, unfortunately. Stronger tribe wiping out another. Indeed. Reagan's here on Facebook. She says Arawaks were the original inhabitants of Miami. Yes, they were. The Arawak people were all over the Caribbean at one time. And she says hi from Orlando. Hi, Regan. Which is really cool. And yeah, I visited Nassau and Grand Bahamas, says Alex Mung, but agree, if you go to Paradise Island next to Nassau, it's very much a large resort complex. Yeah. Nassau, sorry, not Nassau. Nassau. I keep saying Nassau because I can't say things right. I think it's Nassau, like Nass, and then a saw, like sawing through a tree. Keep mind on that. Right, let's talk pirates. Come on, we're halfway through this one already. Jesus, time just goes so fast. Right, I'm going to take a big glug of this because I want to finish off. So where was I? I was just telling you. Oh, Andy McAvoy. Yay! £5. Cheers, buddy. I got to go. Let me know when you got part 2 storyboarded, mate. I will do. And Andy, I was looking at it today and I thought I've got to get that done. So Andy and I are working on a little project together. It's not the new It's not the new Doctor Strange movie, unfortunately. But yeah, it's something else. Almost equally as exciting. But cheers, Andy. Really appreciate that super chat there. Keeps me going. Otherwise, what's it all about, eh? What's it all about? Right, got that down me. Okay, let's move on quickly to pirates. So, you have this problem where basically the British could barely keep hold of the Bahamas, or well, the islands around there at the time. And it became a bit of a pirate's paradise because of the wars that Britain was fighting with France and Spain meant that the whole British Navy was overstretched in the Caribbean. And essentially, you had pirates such as Henry Jennings and Edward Teach, who... Edward Teach was Blackbeard, okay? Blackbeard the pirate. This guy was 6'5" at a time when most people, the average height was 5'5". I mean, this guy was a giant, and he used to have a massive beard, and he put fuses from cannons in the beard, and he'd light them, and he'd come running at you with his beard on fire. He was a nutter, but quite a civilized nutter, as a lot of the pirates were, as you will learn. But yeah, they took over New Providence, basically, and established a pirate paradise, which was lined with brothels and taverns for common cheats, thieves, and lewd persons. Sounds great. And he emerged as one of the leaders of the Republic of Pirates. So the Republic of Pirates was established in 1706, and it was around for 12 years, and it was disestablished on the 12th of December, 1718. And in that 12-year reign, this was the height of the golden age of piracy. What had happened was pirate Henry Avery turned up in the last few years of the 17th century on his ship, the Fancy. It was called the Fancy. I mean, just... Yarr, I'm aboard the dread ship Fancy. And here's my seamates on the dread ship Fluffy Unicorns! Yarr! Yeah, anyway, it was on the dread ship Fancy. He turned up in New Providence. He turned up in Nassau with a treasure that he had plundered from, I think, the Spanish, worth £600,000. Might not seem that much today when you look at how much politicians make in this country. But it was actually, in today's money, it'd be worth £60 million worth of booty. So he turned up. There was a governor at the time called Nicholas Trott, and he said, "Yeah, I'll take a massive bribe. Don't worry. I mean, sure, whatever." And Alex Morgan, 15 quid. Get yourself a bottle of Captain Morgan's on me. Thank you, Alex. I will do that. I will do that now. Thank you. Oh, God, I can really do some Captain Morgan's. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. So anyway, we were talking about the governor, Nicholas Trott. He said, yeah, look, give some of this money, and I will turn a blind eye to piracy. I mean, I'll do some things that make it look like I give a toss, but really, go for your lives. And the pirates were told, don't attack British ships, just attack the French ones, just attack the Spanish ones. And they were like, yeah, okay, sure. They attacked some British ones as well, but whatever. Anyway, with the war still going on, the wars against the Spanish and the French, basically the British ended up leaving the islands, the British governor and stuff, and they just abandoned Fort Nassau for the pirates to take over, which they did, and they announced this place, the Republic of Pirates. Which is the best name for a republic. Oh, I love this story. Anyway, so basically the pirates lived unchecked on Nassau for all this time. And it was a great place for them to be. They had a harbour there, which was big enough for a sloop, which was the kind of ships that they used, but it wasn't big enough for the big man-of-war ships that the armadas, the Spanish, the French, and the British used. That they just couldn't get into the port. As luck would have it, in 1715, 11 of the 12 ships that were coming out of Cuba, carrying this was Spain's treasure fleet. They went down in a hurricane, basically leaving millions of pounds worth of silver and gold and jewels and all kinds left for the pirates to just plunder, salvage, whatever. The Republic of Pirates, basically the pirates of the day there, they got together and they had this thing called the Flying Gang. It included pirates such as Benjamin Hornigold, which is a great name for pirates. His name was Hornigold. I be horny for gold. I'm Benjamin Hornigold. And there was Calico Jack Rackham. There was Henry Jennings, already mentioned. There was Thomas Barrow. There was Samuel Black, Sam Bellamy, and the terrifying Charles Vane. Charles Vane was an absolute frickin' psychopath, okay? Whereas the other pirates might make some people walk the plank, whatever, you know. It's all part of the fun and games of being a pirate. No, Charles Vane took piracy very, very seriously in that he used to torture his victims to death. He was very, very, very feared in the Caribbean at the time. However, the Republic of Pirates was run under the same pirate code that the ships were under. And the pirate code was boss, because the pirate code was democratic, and there was no bar for people from a different religion or of different ethnicity. So you had people who were from all over the world who could work on pirate ships. And when they found some plunder, it was split equally amongst all the people on board the ship. They could vote off the captain if they weren't happy with the way the captain was doing stuff. The captain would only take twice the share of plunder as the rest of the crew. Whereas if you were working for the Royal Navy and you found some treasure, the captain would take 15 times more than the rest of the crew. And it wasn't a democracy. And they would whip you if you weren't being a nice person or something, hence the mutiny on the Bounty. Whereas the pirates, they seem to have quite a good little thing set up there. I mean, that's democracy. They have female pirates as well. They had women pirates. They had Anne Bonny, who was the lover of Calico Jack, and Mary Read, female pirates. Why not? You know, in charge of a ship. I'm sorry, but these pirates were kind of more modern and progressive than a lot of states around the world right now. 300 years later, let's see where we are. Anyway, so at the time, there was over 1,000 pirates living in Nassau. Could you imagine this place? It just sounds insane. It sounds like something that is made up for a story, but it actually existed. It was actually the pirates' paradise. For 12 years, they ran the joint. It reminds me of when I was in Bolivia. Here's go. Graham's stories from the road. When I was in Bolivia and I visited San Pedro prison, where the prisoners give you a tour of the prison, which they basically run themselves. And there's only 2 guards outside the front of the prison. And the prisoners want to go out for the weekend. They just bribe the guards and say, yeah, I'll see you Monday morning then. Oh, no, you come back Sunday night. All right, then I'll come back Sunday night. See you then. Honestly, that happens. Anyway, so this continued on until the pirates, I don't know, bit off a bit more than they could chew. I think they annoyed the British Navy. They probably, I don't know, pirated some ships or something. And there was a guy called Woodes Rogers, who was appointed by the British to be the new governor of Nassau. And amnesty was offered, this great pirate amnesty was offered, and Rogers actually recruited Benjamin Horny Gold, who was still horny for gold, and he because he was a pirate, he knew all the piratey people, and he basically said, look, amnesty, just if you've done anything bad in the past, don't worry about it, just don't do anything in the future. A few of the pirates rebelled, and he helped capture them, and I think 10 of them. I mean, like out of 1,000 people, out of 1,000 pirates, 10 getting the death penalty. It seems like, you know, at least 99% of those pirates got away with it. Literally got away with murder. But yeah, so he went good. You know, like at the end of Catch Me If You Can, where Frank Thingy starts working for the feds. Yeah, that kind of thing. Anyway, so but that's where the actual slogan. It's not called a slogan, is it? What the words? What are your house words? Like in Game of Thrones, yeah. You know, every country has its words. What's the British one? It's duet mon droit. That's God and my right. Yeah. So their slogan is piracy expelled, commerce restored. That's still a cheeky little slogan. It's still piracy expelled, commerce restored, which was put in there by Woodes Rogers, who came in as governor in 1718. Right, so then you had a couple of forts built. Fort Montague was built in one fort was built, Fort Montague in 1741. And that went all right until the War of Independence, the American War of Independence, or the American Revolutionary War, and in old money. And in 1776, the Americans actually raided. They raided the town of Nassau and took it over pretty much. They got fought back off by the British, and that went on for a few years. And eventually, after 6 years of sort of tit for tat sort of things going on, the Spanish turned up and basically took over the fort. They took over this Fort Montague and control of Nassau. It was a British captain of a ship. Maybe he was an admiral. Colonel. No, he was a colonel. Andrew Devereux, his name was. And he turned up on one boat. This is a great story, this. So he turned up, right. Now imagine this. You're the Spanish and you've just taken this fort and you're looking out to sea. And you see the ship come, and you get out your binoculars or whatever they had back then. I suppose it would have been like a ship's telescope, wouldn't it? Pull it out. What be you see? And it'll be like, oh, well, they'll be Spanish, so they'll be like, hey, they saw people coming off the ship and getting into boats and rowing towards the town, and they were like, oh, okay, well, there's only 10 of them. It's fine, you know, there's not that many people. But what the British did was they came in the view of the fort, in full view of the fort. They came to the island, and then they dragged the boats along the beach, out of view, out of sight, and then they got back on the boats, and then they went back to the ship around the other side, where the Spanish couldn't see them. And then they brought the ships back. They brought the boats back around, got back in the boats, and went back to the land. And they kept doing this. So the Spanish thought that there were like hundreds of British troops coming to get them and kill them all. And so they ran away. It's like, what? Did that actually happen? Yeah, they were tricked, and they tried to burn down the fort on the way out. They weren't too successful with that, but yeah. Anyway, Grain O'Malley was an Irish pirate queen. Oh, I love her already. It's good. I love Toby Stevens. The whole brothel storylines weighed it down because the viewers didn't bother. Was that Pirates, that ship? Black Flag, was it? No, what was it called? Black Sails, that was it. That was John Malkovich, wasn't it? Amazing series about pirates. Admittedly, a mix of real pirates and fiction. It's called Black Sails. It's a story of how Long John Silver becomes LJS and includes Anne Bonny, Vine, Teach, Horny Gold, etc. Yeah, well, Long John Silver's made up, isn't he? I mean, that was part of the golden age of piracy, was obviously Treasure Island. Oh, no, Treasure Island was much later, wasn't it? Treasure Island was... what am I talking about? Stop talking, Graham. You're an idiot. Daniel Defoe wrote about pirates, didn't he? And he made it all like Boston. Treasure Island was years later. Ignore that. Just strike that from the record. I didn't mean that. Anyway, it was Stevenson, wasn't it, who wrote Treasure Island? Yeah. Okay. Edit that bit. Quick, get me the chief of the edit company. Edit that out. Right. So moving swiftly on. Where were we? Oh yeah, we were talking about the British taking back Nassau, which they did, and then they built another couple of forts. So there was Fort Fincastle was built, and also Fort Charlotte. And if you ever go to Nassau, check out Fort Charlotte. It's still kept in superb condition. In 1807, the slave trade ended. The slave trade ended in Britain, so British ships were no longer allowed to slave trades to trade slaves. However, if you had slaves, you were still allowed to have slaves. Okay, so people weren't like, oh yeah, I'm free of my chains now. Hurrah, I can live a life of doing what I want. No. If you were enslaved in 1807, you were already a slave working on a plantation in the West Indies or in America. You continued working until 1834 in British colonies or British Empire. That's when people were emancipated. So it was nearly 30 years later. So Britain likes to go, oh, we were the first, we got rid of all this horrible thing of slavery, when actually we stopped the trade first. And part of the reason that we did that wasn't just William Wilberforce trying to be a good Christian. There were people there who went, hey, if we make this illegal, right, we can raid all the Spanish and the French ships that are transporting slaves across the ocean, and we can, I don't know, get some money out of it, I guess. But a lot of the recaptured slaves, a lot of slaves that were found coming over, and slaves that had run away, slaves that had fought for the British in the American War of Independence as well, some of them ended up in the Bahamas. And so it became a kind of colony of freed slaves. And these days, something like over 80% or 83% of the people who live in the inhabitants of the Bahamas are Bahamian people, Afro-Bahamian, Afro-Caribbeans. So it's 83% black population there, and that was part of the biggest forced migration in human history, which was slave trade, which the British government doesn't want you to know about, because that's how all the people who run the British government at the moment, that's how their pirate ancestors got all their money, basically through murder, rape, and slavery. Nice people. Anyway, I'm sure they didn't pass on any of those horrific traits in their DNA through the generations. I'm sure not. It doesn't work like that. Anyway, so back to the Bahamas. The British forces intercepted slave ships, and if they found slaves on board, if they were closer to Africa, they would be taken to the Province of Freedom, which is now Freetown in South Africa, in Sierra Leone. If they were closer over to the Caribbean, the West Indies, they would be taken over to the Bahamas. Oh, by the way, I sometimes refer to it as the West Indies because I'm trying to say that the Bahamas isn't technically part of the Caribbean Sea because it's just a bit off to the side, above. But the reason why it's the West Indies is because Columbus died. He died. He went to the New World 4 times, and he died still thinking that he was to the east of he'd gone around the world and he was on the east of India. So he called it the West Indies, obviously, because that made sense. He travelled west to the east. Poor bloke. He wasn't a poor bloke. He was an absolute gobshite, Columbus. He really was. Wait till I get to the whole section on Dominican Republic when I get up to my D's. Columbus was a horror show. He was actually led out of Dominican Republic or Santo Domingo in manacles, because of the crimes he committed against the people of the Caribbean. Anyway, so and then they let him come back. That was on his third journey. He came back for another bloody journey a couple of years later. Bastard. Anyway, Castro in Cuba. Oh, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself in my notes here. So, American Civil War. The country was used for a bit of good old fashioned blockade running, because the British, don't know if you know this, they supported the Southern cause in the Civil War. We don't mention this enough, do we? Liverpool, the city of Liverpool, my hometown, they hung the Confederate flag from the town hall. Yeah, not great. Not great. Not great. Sorry about that. I apologise on behalf of Scousers everywhere from 170 years ago. But basically that thing of being able to run stuff into America just kept going after the Civil War through Prohibition. So a lot of booze came over from the Bahamas into America. Good way of making some money. New casino opened around that time in Nassau. And then they got some refugees of a very different type in the war period, when Edward VIII, the abdicated Nazi king of Britain, he left Britain. He was kicked out basically, and his wife Wallace Simpson, who was a divorcee, and that was the excuse. He was marrying a divorcee. You can't do that. It's wrong. It goes against everything we stand for. Well, actually, he was kicked out because he was a big Nazi, and Winston Churchill just made sure he wasn't welcome staying as king or in Britain, and tried to get him as far away as humanly possible. So he put him in the Bahamas, where he lived there for 5 years with Wallace Simpson. In 1961, with Castro getting into power in Cuba and the subsequent US embargo, Nassau became the new tourism hotspot, and there was a boom. There was a boom of tourism, finance, industry, investment, and there was a lot of investors and British people going to live there. And even to this day, the Bahamas is one of the highest GDP per capita in the whole of the Caribbean. It's a wealthy country. It is a wealthy country. Its geography has done it well on that front. When it comes to global warming, though, this has been a big problem. A big problem. And it's not just the fact that sea levels around the world are rising. They're demonstrably rising. It's also the fact that they've been hit by hurricane after hurricane over the last 20-odd years, since the turn of the millennium. They have had a lot of hurricanes. But I'll get to that in a moment. Let's talk a little bit about... let's go back into your comments here. We've got The Lost Pirate Kingdom, just came out on Netflix, explains the history of piracy in a series of live action / documentary interviews. Really worth a watch, from Alex Morgan. I will check that out, Alex. That sounds good. MMTB says 30 years later, that means all the slaves were already dead, given the life expectancy. Yes. I don't know what to say to that. I mean, the point of these episodes, live casts, is that we want to talk about the history of the places in the world, a little bit about the geography, a little bit about the people, where to go when you go there. And I want to dive into the history. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, these other countries, they did these terrible things in the past, and then kind of gloss over what the British did, because obviously we weren't quite as bad. And it's like, come on. Sometimes we were, sometimes we weren't. That's history. That's just the way it is. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm going to take credit for a war that was fought by other people 100 years ago, but I'm not going to take the blame for anything that some other people did 100 years ago that was bad. You know, it's more footy match versus a famine that was caused or whatever. So, yeah. Gran Marl was not a pirate. I'm saying that wrong now, aren't I? This is in the Dirty Fecker. She was an Irish chieftain who attacked ships that ran a trade fleet between Ireland and Spain. This is to the English was an act of piracy. She attacked ships in her waters. Good to know, Dirty Fecker. Noreen Schmidt says, "Hi, Graham Hughes." Hi, Noreen. I came late. Sorry. Don't worry. It's here for you to watch. All for the rest of history. I hope. So, we're just coming up to sort of the modern era, because obviously I'm going to have to wrap up soon. It's 10 to the hour. Lyndon Pindling became the leader of the Bahamas in 1967. And on July the 10th, 1973, the Bahamas became the independent Commonwealth of the Bahamas, ending 325 years of British rule. They're still part of the Commonwealth, and the Queen of England is the head of state still of the Bahamas. The Bahamas enjoys a very good relationship with America and with the UK still. It's got good relations with most of the other countries in the Caribbean. It's part of CARICOM, the Caribbean community. It had a bit of a hoo-ha with Cuba around 1980 when Cuba literally blew up one of its bloody ships or something. I mean, it was pretty bad. And then Cuba was like, "Oh, so sorry about that," and they're sort of made up now, and things aren't so bad. The only country around where I can think, well, there's quite a lot of tension is with Haiti. And that's more to do with the fact that a lot of Haitian refugees fleeing from Haiti, which is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, are going to the Bahamas, and the Bahaman governments have clamped down on it, possibly pushed by America a bit in that, which I find really sad. It's like if you're born in Haiti and you're trying to escape to America, you're thrown back, like they don't want you. But if you're coming from Cuba, literally next door, from Haiti. You got Haiti here, you got Cuba right next to it. You're welcomed with garlands and fruit, and that sticks in my craw. It's not we the elite who are still in power. It's them who don't want people to know their history. Yeah, it's very true. The most beautiful thing about the Bahamas is their seas, similar to the Great Barrier Reef, and has the clearest water. Did you do underwater trips, Graham? Not in the Bahamas. I've scuba dived in the Red Sea. I've scuba dived in the Med. I've scuba dived in the Caribbean. Just not in the Bahamas. I'd love to. I mean, one of the things I could have done if I had a bit of wodge when I was living in Panama is just got a plane over to Miami. They do like really, really stupidly cheap flights from Panama City in America. In Panama to Panama City in America. I don't know if there's a direct flight there, but there is a Panama City in America, which makes things a bit confusing when people are booking flights and like, "Oh my God, look at this flight to Panama City. It's only like $50. And I'm like, "Yeah, wrong Panama City, mate. That's the American one." But yeah, you can get flights to Florida pretty cheap, and then you can do that sort of day trip where you go out on a boat to Grand Bahama, and once you're in the Bahamas, get stamped in and spend a few weeks bobbing around the islands. There's 700 islands. I mean, there's only 12 or so big ones, but big ones. But there's lots of rocks and things like that. But and sandbars. But the place is absolutely stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. And if you have the opportunity to go over there and get on someone's boat, I don't know if you're into yachting, whatever, but being able to bum around the Bahamas is just. It's got to be one of those great experiences in life. I've bummed around the Caribbean, which, I don't know, it's pretty big. Not as big as the Pacific, which is just crazy. But just the idea of being able to just spend a couple of hours sailing from one island to the next is not that far away from each other. And just being out there in the sun. But the devastating hurricanes that have ravaged from 1999 essentially onwards have just wreaked havoc on tourism, and also the building of stuff on these islands. And the reason why we're getting more and more hurricanes is because the world's getting hotter. And one of the things that the climate scientists have been warning us about since the late 80s, when they first identified climate change as a thing that's actually happening, because, the oil companies that knew a good 10 years earlier didn't tell anyone. Thanks for that. But yeah, they said the natural consequence of it getting warmer around the world, there's going to be more storms. And because of its location, it's right in the path of all those storms that are coming in, where the cold Atlantic air meets the warm Caribbean air, mixes together, creates hurricanes. You think about thunderstorms, they're always caused by a cold front coming in and hitting the warm front and rubbing together and creating static electricity on an epic scale, which leads to thunderstorms. And it's sad, and the Bahamas in the next few years could become one of these critically endangered countries, along with the Maldives and Tuvalu and Kiribati in the Pacific. It's something that breaks my heart, because it's one of those things where I got the opportunity to go and see this stuff. I had the freedom, but also the ability and the, time, whatever. But they were there, and I would want them to be there for the rest of my life if I ever wanted to go back. But there's a good chance, if we continue the way we're going at the moment, that they won't. So yeah, when you watch these shows, I mean, I'm going to mention this, especially when I come to these countries that climate change is making critically endangered, because you can't live on the top of a hill. And plus, if an island gets flooded with salt water, it's salt water. It's really hard to plant stuff after that, because the salt in the soil, as the people of Tuvalu have found out. It was the killer, still struggling in areas, places like the BVI, the British Virgin Islands, and the Leeward Islands. Richard Foster, I did a guided dive while I was there, saw a barracuda, a sea snake, and black yellow stripes. Barracudas are dangerous little buggers, I know someone who got serious injury from a barracuda. Romina says, "Can you greet me, please?" Romina, how you doing? Hello. It's not we. Oh, I read that one. The storyline got a bit much, but there were other elements that turned people off it. We're talking about black flags or whatever it was called. I forgot what it's called again. But yeah, basically that's the Bahamas in kind of a nutshell. It was it's a small country where everyone I met when I was over there was really lovely, and I feel like I should finish off these live casts with some kind of words of wisdom about the world, some pearls of wisdom. But I think it's something that I'd have to write down before I start. But I would like these places to still be there in 50 years' time, in 100 years' time, because humans have been around for, as modern humans, since we've had agriculture, 10,000 years, if that. It's not very long. And the idea that we're just going to wipe, in one generation, we're going to wipe these places out, it's pretty heartbreaking. It's pretty heartbreaking. Anyway, right, so they also have one of the most exciting fish populations in the world, like the delicious African pompano, barracudas, and massive populations of dolphins. It's a paradise. It really, really is a paradise. If you want to get over there, my advice would be to fly to Florida on one of these cheap flights that you can get to Florida. And then from there, head over to Fort Lauderdale, where they have, throughout the summer, they have daily sailings from Fort Lauderdale. That'll get you over to Grand Bahama. And once you're on Grand Bahama, you can get around the islands. There's boats that go everywhere. There's ferry boats. When I say fly to Florida, I thought they took a boat, but I know that's not very realistic for a lot of people. But that's the cheapest and easiest way of getting there. If you try and fly direct to the Bahamas, it'll cost you a lot more. So that's just a cheaper way of doing it. Shoestring travel, top tip. When like I say, when I went there, I got on this daily boat that went over. I mean, the boat was a bit grotty, like it was proper like 1970s, like half-arse cruise ship. Not like one of these big, massive, crazy cruise ships, but just a kind of, yeah, we've got a swimming pool, but it's like this big. And the bar was very 70s or maybe 80s. It had those silver mirror strips and stuff. My teacher shows us one video when you visit all the countries. That's how I start seeing your videos. Yeah, thank you. That's 1 second every country, I think. But yeah, not a good place to settle down. Well, Peter, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I want it to be a good place to settle down. I want it to be somewhere where the people who live there can be safe and happy that they're going to live there for the rest of their lives. And unless we get a grip on climate change within the next 10 years, that doesn't mean we can wait 10 years to do something. It's literally, we have to do something now, and it's got to be in place in 10 years' time. We're leaving it a bit late. We're leaving it a bit late. Adam says, boat was grotty. How did it rate on the India-Tunisia scale? Oh, no, it wasn't a Grimaldi. I mean, the Grimaldi was like down here. The Grimaldi was like awful. No, about there on the scale. Compared with Grimaldi. I've got the boat over from Sicily to Tunisia a few times, and it's not a great experience. I prefer the Pelni ferries in Indonesia, even though they're even grottier, but at least they're cheap. I really have a problem when I spend a lot of money to get on some form of transport, and it's awful. That's when I'm like, what? I don't mind if it's only a $5. I will put up with anything. But when it's like, it's really expensive. What am I paying for here? Yeah. Citizenship costs £100,000. Oh well, Andrew, I've got a few super chats here. I think I've got £25 worth of super chats, so nearly there. Get myself some citizenship in the great Commonwealth Island nation of the Bahamas. So I'll be back next week with Bahrain in the Saudi Peninsula, and which is it's kind of a weird place, kind of like the Las Vegas of Arabia. It's weird. I'll tell you about it. I remember being in a pub and there was a guy there, full dish dash. I said to him, "Where are you from?" Dish dash is the white robes. I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "I'm from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia." I said, "Yeah." I said, "You having a drink?" Like that. He was. He's having a whiskey. And he said, "We are in Bahrain. Allah cannot see Bahrain." So there you go. Allah can only see you if you're in Saudi Arabia. If you go over the border to Bahrain, they can't see you anymore. So we'll find out more fun stuff about Bahrain next week when I'm back with another episode of Hughes of the World. I'll be back tomorrow, obviously, at 1 o'clock with Brexit Reality, if you want to join me for that. But otherwise, it's time to say goodnight. So it's good night for me. It's good night for my mum, who's there, who's come up as Alan Roberts because she's logged in as my nephew. Hi, Mum. Bayerberg says, great. I'll sell my shares in Brexit and buy it with leftovers. If you got any shares in Brexit, mate, they're not really going to be worth very much. I'll tell you that now. I do think that travel the world is going to be for 10 years. Yeah. So see it while you can once lockdown's over, once things have sort of gone back to normal. But maybe just it's better for the environment if you travel slowly over a long period of time. And maybe, just maybe, the fact that we've all been working from home over the last year, basically, a lot of us have been working from home. Maybe that means that we can take the show on the road and we can do what we need to do wherever we are in the world, so long as we've got an internet connection. That would be interesting. But we'll have to see what happens. So I'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Otherwise, I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, 10 o'clock for Hughes of the World, where I'll be doing country number 13, Bahrain. I'll see you then. What do I say at the end of this? Lions, Graham, Lions. Oh, I know. And until then, this is quite appropriate because of the pirate connection. I'll say fair winds and following seas, traveller.